Good morning, Illini. Welcome back to another Healthy Illini podcast. I'm Matt Schrock, your host, as always, and we're glad you're with us. We're glad you're listening to us. We have a lot of fun with these. I have a good time talking about some of these topics on health and wellness and a variety of topics. And today we're continuing on with a series that we started that I'm really enjoying, and this is kind of a meet the staff / healthcare careers introduction, and so we're continuing on with that with some of the people we have here at McKinley, and I'm ready to jump right into it. Like I said, we're talking about healthcare careers and different roles we have here at McKinley, and one of the ones we're talking about today is one that is vital to how we operate here at McKinley Health Center, and that's the role of an office support associate. And I'm joined today by two of our OSAs here at McKinley, and we're going to get a chance to meet them. First up, we have Vicki Harrison, and Vicki is primarily in our self-care stations, previously HRC, at the front of McKinley. And Vicki, thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's nice to be here.
And the other voice you hear is one of our other OSAs, and he can be found in various units depending on what day it is or time of year. Kind of fills in everywhere and is a real asset here at McKinley. And that's Travis Hurt. Travis, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
So,
good seeing you guys.
So we're going to start off with, because we're talking about healthcare roles. And if I talk about a medical clinic and I talk about radiology, or I talk about a physician, or I talk about a lab tech, most people have something that pops to mind immediately. But because we are part of the University of Illinois system, and because we're part of the state civil service system, the title that we have for your position is Office Support Associate, which tells no one anything about what you actually do here at McKinley. So let's start with that. What does it mean if you're an OSA at McKinley Health Center?
Well, part of being an OSA or Office Support Associate at McKinley, I call it kind of like the administrative part in the sense of the healthcare. You know, we're not hands-on like a doctor or like a nurse or a MA, but we do handle, things that pertain to the patient. Like in my case, I work in a self-check area where I help the students check in, help them find directions, and other small detailed duties that, the things that they may need. So that's pretty much what my part of being an OSA is.
Yeah, and then for the most part, my job as an OSA here is scheduling and rescheduling appointments, whether that's people calling over the phone, people who scheduled online and scheduled incorrectly, so we need to contact them and figure it out, or one of the doctors isn't available that day, we need to reschedule all their appointments, so we're calling students to get those rescheduled, or even just people who walk in, even though you shouldn't walk in, you do need an appointment for anything at McKinley. Whenever you want to schedule an appointment, please call us. The phone number is 217-333-2700.
And what you're talking about is you both and all OSAs here are really the first line of contact, whether it be from a phone call or a walk-in. You're really the ones that students will come to first, whether they know what they need, they know they have an appointment, they know where they're going, they're still going to meet an OSA. If they come in and they're uncertain, they're probably going to hit an OSA before they hit anybody else. And that's really what it is. And like I said, OSAs are all over campus. You can find Office Support Associates anywhere in any building of any college or student affairs office, or all over campus. But the things we do here at McKinley are pretty specific to us because of scheduling and things like that.
Right.
So one of the things I'm always amazed at is you all really have to have a good knowledge of almost everything that happens in this building, because you'll get questions about all kinds of things that may or may not pertain to the desk that you're sitting at that moment. Is that something that took a while to get used to, or is that something that you just kind of after a few days you're like, oh wow, this is how this works? What's been that experience of being that front line for the students?
Well, for me, when I first came here, I started kind of basically with the international check-in. So I learned different things from that. I learned that with the international students, their time has to be a little bit different from the domestic students, because again they need a little more time in getting a lot of their paperwork done, and things of that nature. So I started off kind of doing that first, and then after that was all over, I started to work in the self-care area. And so yes, but I learned a lot on how your role can change on a daily basis being an OSA.
Yeah, I started in the medical units, just basically scheduling appointments. For the most part, students are here scheduling because they have colds, because they have pink eye, because they're getting STI checks done. Great job. Way to be responsible. But from there, especially during slow times like the summer, like it is when we're recording this, I would get sent to other departments and cross-train. So I'd learn the process of scheduling people for immunization appointments, specifically the international students like Vicky was mentioning. A lot of times they don't have access to their health records from the country they're from. So they're kind of starting fresh here, having to get all of the immunizations that are required by the state, or cross-training in mental health, cross-training in other medical units that aren't specifically the one I've been assigned to.
So you both kind of mentioned kind of how you started here, like your path. Vicky, you started with the international check-in, which was getting ready to happen again in a few weeks here as we're recording. We're getting ready for the fall semester. But Travis, you said you started in one particular unit, but you've kind of been cross-trained in others. But I did want to ask how you ended up at McKinley, because working on a college campus, I mean, when most people think of colleges, they think you graduate high school, you go to school for 4 years, you get your degree and move on. You declare a major, you go for 4 years, you get your degree. But we know that that's really not the most common. It's not always the path. Some people do that, but a lot of people change majors, or they take 3 or 5 years, or they change schools, and so the path. I'm always interested by the path of how someone gets from point A to point B, because it's often very unique, it's often very nuanced, and I think that it's just really fascinating to me. So for both of you, how did you end up at McKinley? I mean, I don't think either one of you were like graduate, high school, like I'm going to work at McKinley one day. I don't think really many of us are here that were that way. We just happened to find a job that we applied for and we got hired onto. So how did you end up working for the university and McKinley specifically? What led you here?
Well, for myself, I got here actually by I lost my job due to administrative cuts. I was an office assistant for Blue Cross Blue Shield for close to 20 years, about 20 years. So at my age, it kind of took a turn on me. So when the building closed, my job went with the building. So that put me at a high age of 50 of trying to go back out and get it back into the job world, the work world with that. So, of course, a lot of my friends that I knew worked for the university. So I thought, well, this will be the first place that I'll try. And so I came on in 2014 as extra help. And I've worked in various offices, dean office. I've worked in study abroad. The ARC. I've just worked in different areas, and so I got a call one day, and they said they wanted me to come over to McKinley, and so that's kind of where I landed. I'm kind of a customer service person, I kind of that's kind of one of my better fields, and so I thought, well, this sounds good, so I'll come over and take a try. Well, I've done extra help here for quite a few years, and so, then eventually I was hired on as an OSA.
Travis, what about you?
I started working at the university in general in 2002 when I was an undergrad here. I got a degree in speech communication, which isn't a real thing. And while I was here, I got a job working in agricultural research, studying nematodes, which are microscopic worms. And I did that for 12 years. It was all these positions the university offers that don't have real benefits and don't have a real career path, and they kind of lead you on with that, saying, oh yeah, keep working here, jump from this research group to the next, and eventually funding for that runs out. And so I was like, I'm done with agricultural research, what can I do now? And I got on at the university library, and I have no background in that at all. And very similarly, it's kind of project-based, and where the money they're getting from huge corporations that make you sign NDAs because they don't want people to know what you're doing, that funding runs out. And eventually I was like, I'm going to try to avoid these jobs that are based on funding from outside sources, and I'm just going to get on the civil service track. And so I signed up for the civil service testing, interviewed a ton of places around campus that were offering entry-level jobs, which at the time were Clerk 1, and has since been reclassified to Office Support Associate. And McKinley's the one that hired me. I've been here ever since.
And I will say we're thrilled that you're both here. I've seen you both work. I've seen you around. I know the interactions you've had with students and with staff, and I cannot speak highly enough of the job that you do and the way that that students interact with both of you. So for my part, I'm really glad you're here because I really enjoy having you here. You both have bounds of experience in different areas, and that's a wonderful thing. But I did want to ask, because we are trying to highlight, it's part of the purpose of this series is to highlight careers in the medical field. And some of them, we've already talked, like I said, you can talk about radiology, you can talk about a lab, or you can talk about a physician, and those are all things that people have come to mind. But we all know anyone who's ever been to a doctor's office has talked to an OSA type of person. The first person you walk into, they check you in, they answer your questions, those kinds of things. And here at McKinley, you see a constantly renewing clientele. We're not a doctor's office where we're going to be your doctor for the next 50 years. We're going to be your doctor for the next 4 to 10, depending on what you do most of the time. And then you move on. And so we get new freshmen that come in, we get new graduate students, we get new international students, and that brings its own challenges, but its own rewards in a lot of ways. So I did want to ask, what are some of the aspects that you really like about what you do as an OSA? What are the things that you really enjoy as being that front line for a medical clinic?
Well, myself, I really enjoy my job. I really like interacting, with the students. As I said, especially the international students. I always try to kind of picture myself in a foreign country. You can't speak the language very well, and you have important business that you need to handle. And it's like trying to survive in a country that you're not familiar with. So I kind of have empathy, more for those students, because of their situation. And, again, just the thought of it is like a nightmare, going somewhere and not knowing where
right.
where you're going to go. So, like I said, I really try to, help them to feel welcome. I try to go above and beyond. To make sure that they get the things and the help that they need. I feel that's very important. And then also the parents, I think about parents, come in and they're bringing their quote unquote, their baby, to college, and so they're worried, because they don't know where they're going to go if they get sick. Who's going to handle this? What happens if they get sick or have an accident on the outside? So all these crazy things are going through the parents' head. And so I could put myself in that position, and so sometimes, even though you can't directly help them, I try to explain, with the insurance, the outside insurance, as I call it, the United Healthcare. I call the service fee the inside insurance. So I try to break things down to them in certain ways that they can feel comfortable knowing that, their child will have somewhere to go in the event of an accident. And so, that seems to bring them comfort, and so, I just think about things like that, having empathy and compassion for people, because, that's stressful, very stressful. So, I just try to do what I can to comfort the situation at that time.
As a parent of a new freshman, fall of 23, sending his child states away to go to college, I appreciate that aspect. I appreciate that perspective, because it's not easy for the student or the parents to do that. So that's a huge part.
I like on that part that you guys are talking about, just like you do quite often talk to parents, and you're kind of the first person who's ever had to tell them your child is not a child anymore.
Right.
And most of the time that does not go well. When it does go well, it's always interesting to hear. Like I'll always remember this one specific interaction I had with a dad who was, I don't even remember what he was calling for, just trying to get his daughter an appointment. And the phone call ended with him just going, "You're right. she is an adult now. Well, thank you for your help.
It's a shift. It's a shift in mentality. You know, I mean, I work here. I know these things. I've had these conversations like you're talking about, but still, as a parent of a newbie freshman, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I have to remind myself, okay, she's got to figure these things out. She has to take care of these. I can help guide, but she has to take care of. And so that's a huge blessing that we have you there. Yeah, I was going to say, Travis, is there anything else that, you know, that you particularly enjoy about your role here?
Yeah, you know, Vicky said we're mainly customer service people in this role here, and I had not had a customer service job since I was in high school, so it was even just taking this job, I really didn't know how much this job would be just that, customer service. And I found out that I'm actually pretty good at it. The thing that I really do like about McKinley overall is that we're part of this big university system, and I've been here for over 20 years. And I was going to school here, getting an education, and I was also working in research, and it kind of disillusioned me on the whole concept of academia and what it does. So the university's here. It's this big nebulous thing, and it teaches, I guess. It does research, I guess, and these are just kind of murky concepts. And I think that as far as what McKinley does, more than any other thing I've been involved with on campus, is it actually does the thing that it says it's doing, which is helping the students with their health. It's more concrete than a lot of the jobs I've had here, and it makes more sense to me.
And one of the things I'll kind of jump in, because I started at office support specialist, which is in the same line as what you all do. And one of the things that I really loved, I'm echoing basically what you said, you know, we're helping the students, we're hands-on with students, but I really love that we interact with so many students, that we have so many that we touch and have an opportunity to support and to help, because, you know, if you work at the College of Engineering, you have your set number of students. If you work at the College of Education, you have this, or in DIA, you have this number. We serve everybody. Right. There's every single student that comes through has, if nothing else, has send immunizations to us. Yeah. And so we interact with everybody, which is daunting and overwhelming at that first couple weeks of each semester. But I really like that aspect, because we do have a concrete, you know, this is what we do, and this is how we do it. So I appreciate you saying that, and I would say that you're both that you are fantastic. It surprised me, Travis, that you said that you hadn't had customer service for a long time, because you're so good at it.
Yeah, McDonald's in high school. Jump ahead 20 years.
Hey, you know, but really, you're fantastic at what you do, and so that really honestly surprised me. Which brings me to my next point, which is, I wanted to give a chance for us to get to know you as more than just the person who sits behind the desk. Not that there's anything wrong with the person who sits behind the desk, but I liken it to, I go to the grocery store. I live in a small town. I go to the grocery store. I see the same cashiers all the time. I know nothing about some of them other than how they like to bag groceries. And, you know, I know them in that role. I know them in that aspect. But if I saw them outside of here, outside the grocery store, I wouldn't even really know how to interact with them, because I don't know anything about who they are outside of standing behind that register. So I just wanted to ask, you know, what are some things you like? What are some things you enjoy? What are some of your hobbies outside of McKinley? Because you have a whole huge life outside of here, but for students who come through, they may never know that, aside from who they see across the desk who's checking them in. So I'm just kind of a blank check here to share a little bit about who you are and some of the stuff that you like to do, how you spend your free time.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Travis.
Oh, sure. Like I said, I've been living here and I went to school here since 2002, and so I have a lot of connections in the community. I grew up about an hour from here in a small town called Ellis that has less than 20 people in it, so even as a child, this was kind of the biggest city around there. As far as what I do in my free time, I've been here long enough. I have friends, and what we've been working on for more than 10 years now is making an annual televised Christmas special for Urbana Public Television, which is a cable channel here in town that lets anyone make anything. They're actually starved for content. If you want to make something for them, they will help you out. Last year, 2022, was the 10th year of us making these Christmas specials. They're called the Travis Wainhurt Christmas Special. You can find them all on Urbana Public Television's YouTube channel. And last year, I made a podcast celebrating 10 years of doing the podcast, where I interviewed the people who'd been working on them for 10 years and their memories of working on the Christmas specials. And the name of that is the Travis Wainhurt Christmas Special, the podcast.
which I checked it out. I did not know you had this. I had no idea until we were doing the prep work. And you said, I was like, wait a second. So I went back and I've watched a couple of them. And if you have not checked it out, the reason he said that with a little bit of a chuckle is every single episode is named the Travis Wayne Hurt Christmas special and then something else at the end. And it's a running joke. Is what it is. And so
sure.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I love it. And so that's why you had that little bit of a chuckle at the end when you said it.
And then there is one other thing that I participate here in town in the art scene. It's called Champaign Ladies Amateur Wrestling. It's a feminist and comedic rock and roll wrestling, in quotes, performance thing where all of the characters are wild creations. Like they wrestle as a robot, or they wrestle as a dinosaur, or they wrestle as a giant slice of pizza, and they are constantly recruiting new wrestlers to help us put on shows. So if any of the listeners want to join Claw, they can go to 217claw.com, fill out an application. It's very fun.
I knew that one. That one I kind of caught it somehow through the time of you working here. Working here, I'd caught wind of that one, and so I knew that one. But this is what I love, getting some aspect of that's unique to you. So I'm going to kick it over to Vicky now, and I have a feeling your interests are slightly different.
Vicky, do you want to become a wrestler for Claw?
I wasn't gonna do it, but nice segue. But so Vicky, what are some of the things that you enjoy? What are some of the aspects of who you are outside of McKinley?
Yeah. Well, my life is not as exciting as Travis, that's for sure. Yeah, I pretty much with myself, I engage in a lot of my religious activities, and so we do what we call door-to-door preaching work. So that's kind of what my time is spent doing generally. I spend time with my family, other activities, that pretty much again takes me kind of back to my religion, and so that's what I pretty much spend my time doing that. Of course, family and friends, we get together, we have fun too, not as often as I like to, but, we eat dinner, have gatherings, things of that nature. So, like I said, my age is probably a little different from his, so well, I tire out a little earlier than Travis. So.
But I love both those answers because they are wholly unique to each of you. But knowing both those things and the things you talked about, I can see how both of those activities influence what you do here in the way you are outgoing with students, the way you interact with students, the way that you're engaging with them when they come in, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about hearing about who someone is, because that so much influences how we do everything we do, the way we approach it, the way we see it. And so I appreciate those answers very much. Those are both fantastic, and I love it. So we are running out of time. It's crazy to me. Every episode, I say it every episode, we're somehow out of time because we just, as we start talking, time just goes. It's such an easy conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about your positions and who you are, because it gives us a chance to shed a light on a position that is often not given its due. That is so vital here, but is often kind of in the shadows a lot of times by when people think of medical centers or healthcare or the university. The OSA role is so vital to everything that happens here on campus. So I really appreciate you taking the time. I just want to say thank you for chatting with me today.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for having us on.
Yes, it's nice being here. Yeah, it's very nice. Thanks for having us.
Vicky, you can be a door-to-door minister wrestler. How's that?
And with that,
I don't think they would welcome me too much in a pizza outfit at most people at their door.
There are a lot of different careers that you can get into in the medical field. There's a lot of careers that happen on campus. And the Office Support Associate is one that you find not only at McKinley, but all across campus, but is very specific to some of the job roles here at McKinley, and it's vital to what we do. And so if you're listening, you're not sure where to start, you're coming out of college, you're not sure where to get an entry level something, or even just to fill the gap while you're looking for something else, looking at a university and its OSAs is a great place to start. You get an opportunity to learn a lot, you can do a lot of different job skills, and you can build on that. So if you're curious, if you're not sure, reach out to us at McKinley. We'll be happy to talk to you about it, how it works, how the university system works, how you get involved, how you apply, all these things. We would love to chat with you about it, because like I said in the episode, the path that we take is very rarely linear. It's very rarely cut and dry. So many of us here have stories of how we started at point A and got to point B by going through point A1, A2, A4, A7, all the way around in kind of a jagged way to get where we are today. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, in some ways, you learn a lot about yourself during that journey. So we'd love to be a part of that and help you talk through it. But thank you for joining us today. You're on a personal journey no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.